Time now for Talking Points with Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA. Charlie, I want to start today with the recent bombshell announcement, that Justice Anthony Kennedy will retire from the Supreme Court after 30 years of service. This is a watershed moment for the Trump administration, isn't it?
It's a big deal. And, Kennedy was a swing voter on the court. He voted the correct way sometimes and incorrectly other ways. Remember, he voted correctly on Obamacare, but mostly has been a tilt liberal justice. This is an opportunity for the Trump administration to put another Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. Just imagine that significance. Imagine having another constitutionalist, conservative justice that will uphold the rule of law and not do activist interpretation from the bench. It could have generational impact, and I got to give the president credit. He has been so disciplined and so terrific with the judges he's been putting in place on the circuit court level and now on the federal bench. This could change the Supreme Court for generations to come.
I think that's a fantastic point, Charlie, that you just made, and nobody else in the media is making it. That we've been conditioned to believe that Kennedy is this right-winger and he's this anti-abortion guy, that he's this extreme conservative. He's not. He was appointed by Ronald Reagan, but as you said, on many issues, he's been kind of squishy. The last week, he's done a great job. So what Donald Trump has the opportunity to do is put a real constitutional conservative like Judge Neil Gorsuch in place here. How much blowback do you think he's going to get from the progressives if he tries to do that?
Oh, I mean, if you think they hate Trump now, just wait until he gets another Supreme Court nominee. This is going to be the fight of our life. But this is a fight worth having because, look, the liberals, they control media, they control culture, they control Hollywood, and they thought they controlled a lot of levels of government and politics. But they're not going to be able to control the courts. They're not going to be able to control the circuit court level. And this is a really amazing moment that the Trump administration is going to be able to rebalance the courts for the next couple generations.
You know, before the election, a lot of us were really annoyed by the never-Trumpers, the rhino Republicans, if for no other reason than what just happened this week at the Supreme Court. 4 different cases that went the conservative way, largely because of the impact of Neil Gorsuch. Trump's legacy in terms of helping to right this country from a judicial standpoint really is already made. And yet a nomination here to replace Justice Kennedy, the right guy, if he can get him through the right person, is just going to reap incredible benefits moving forward.
We had such great decisions this week. I cannot reinforce the significance enough of this Janus decision, of defunding public sector unions. And look, this is I can't believe it was 5-4. It should have been 9-0. Are you trying to tell me that a union has the right to force its members to pay for political representation, that they don't have the capacity to say, I don't want you to represent me politically? That is a coercion of speech that is so fundamentally anti-constitutional. Thank goodness we had President Trump and Neil Gorsuch. I want you to imagine a different universe, though. I want you to imagine President Hillary Clinton, who nominates a radical leftist on the court to replace Scalia, and then that interpretation. Imagine what would have happened. We would not have had these rulings this week, not to mention the free speech discussion that came out of the Ninth Circuit in California, where they said that an abortion facility couldn't give out certain leaflets, or a pro-life facility or pregnancy crisis center. It's a free speech issue. And so this is so important. We can go from a 5-4 majority to a strong 6-3 majority. And mind you, you might have Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Breyer, retire sometime soon. And that's going to be another opportunity for the Trump administration.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic observation. The First Amendment is at stake here. You think about what happened with Janus, right? Basically, the Supreme Court, by the slimmest of margins, thanks to Neil Gorsuch, right? By the slimmest of margins, the Supreme Court basically ruled that if you don't want to be in a union, you don't have to pay union dues. That is a remarkably basic human right, a civil right granted by the Constitution, and 4 liberal justices voted against it. You also mentioned, it's funny, isn't it, that these liberal progressives who want to demand that you have to pay union dues even if you don't like the politics of a union are the same ones arguing that if you are a baker, you have to bake cakes for gay weddings if you're a Christian baker. Isn't it amazing? This is not about law for these guys anymore. It's about enforcing a liberal agenda.
That's exactly right. And so from a purely political landscape standpoint, hundreds of millions of dollars a year now are going to be defunded away from public sector teacher unions. This is a really big deal. I mean, because the Democrats have lost the business class in America. If you start and work and start a business from nothing, 90% chance you're going to be a Republican and you're going to give to the Republican Party. Now, where are Democrats going to get their money from? Well, they were counting from Hollywood and celebrities, out-of-touch globalist billionaires like George Soros, Tom Steyer, Jeff Bezos, and Bloomberg, or public sector teacher unions. Well, they just lost, and public sector unions in general, they just lost public sector unions in a big way, in a very, very big way. And so now Republicans have a huge strategic standpoint financially to be able to reclaim even more state house seats, reclaim more congressional seats, and eventually rebalance this country away from its current Marxist trajectory.
Let's talk about the big elephant in the room, Charlie. This appointment to the Supreme Court, if we boil it down, it's going to be about abortion. It's going to be about, this is why the left is so rabid. They're mobilizing. They've already thrown every gauntlet they've had down to oppose Donald Trump on this, no matter what he does. And so talk a little bit about what this means now for the rights of the unborn and how much is at stake from that perspective.
Well, we have an opportunity to repeal Roe versus Wade. I want you to just think about how significant that is. We have more science today and we have more technology than we did when Roe versus Wade was decided. And it is a life back then and is a life today. And the rights of the born need to be preserved and protected in every single capacity. There's unique DNA. There's unique formation of cellular transference that only happens uniquely when the egg meets the sperm, and a new life is formed. And for that life not to be protected constitutionally like every other life is inexcusable. And so this is a great opportunity for us to make the compelling argument for the pro-life generation, as the younger generation is becoming more pro-life, and really make this argument go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And boy, President Trump, the billionaire from New York, who people thought was not a conservative, has a chance to nominate justices that might see the repealing of Roe versus Wade. I mean, take that, never Trumpers. That's all I have to say.
It is remarkable, isn't it? And by the way, Roe versus Wade is the textbook example, isn't it, of legislating from the Supreme Court, not based on law, but based on political advocacy. People don't remember anymore that Roe versus Wade was passed on the argument that a woman's right to privacy, a right to medical privacy, means that she can actually take the life of an unborn child. Talk about really, really sketchy law.
Right. And so you've seen judicial activism and interpretation. This is something the left loves to do. The gay marriage decision was the exact same thing, by the way, where they just basically wrote law from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court interprets law. It does not write law. It does not create law, nor does it fulfill it, such as the executive branch. It interprets it. But with Roe versus Wade, they literally they did more than that. They created law based on a privacy statute that then pertained to all sorts of medical practices, including abortion. But abortion is not health care. It isn't. It's not good for the woman. It's not good for the child. It's not good for anyone involved. And so that whole argument gets mixed in there. But if this next Supreme Court seat is about abortion, make no mistake, this will be the political fight of our lifetime. And people better brush up on their abortion talking points, because if you think the left is angry now, they are a vociferous defender of being able to have abortions on demand. But we need to fight for the life of the unborn. And I think this is really interesting because it's an opportunity for us to move public sentiment in the direction of pro-life in a way that we haven't seen in a while. And the reason it hasn't happened as fast as it should is because we haven't had that vocal media narrative around the abortion issue in a long time. The last time I can remember anything close to this was, remember the Sandra Fluke issue with Rush Limbaugh, where she gave the speech at Georgetown. That was the last time I think we had a national debate about reproduction rights, as they call it, so on and so forth. This is a chance for us conservatives to do something that we wouldn't have dreamt in our wildest dreams and protect the lives of the unborn. I just want you to blunt the last statistic. The abortion rate is higher than the birth rate in the black community in New York City. There's no one that can make an argument that that's healthy.
And where are the racial justice warriors for that? This is a genocide of African-American babies, more than any other race in this country. Let's talk for a moment, Charlie, though. Great point that you raised. Let's talk about strategy, potential strategies for Donald Trump. He hit a home run with Neil Gorsuch. And then there's the possibility that with another 4-year term, he may be replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg as well. So if you're Donald Trump, try to think this through with us, would you go full on out for the most absolutely conservative candidate you can right now, knowing that it's going to be a just as hard or maybe a harder fight with Ginsburg, or how would you play this yourself?
Go big or go home and go early. Get the most conservative you possibly can right now, and then worry about the next justice and appointee. You don't know what the country's going to look like at that time. You don't know how many Senate seats you're going to have, so get the most conservative you can get right here, right now. And that list he's composed is quite a compelling one. There's some great ones on that list, and if he gets anything close to that, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I am blown away by the list he put together. For somebody who has not spent his life in the bubble of politics, what a fantastic job he's done at focusing on the federal and the Supreme Courts and putting candidates together.
That's right. He's saving this country. He really, really is. That's right. Absolutely.
Charlie, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. I'm sure we're going to be revisiting this topic on the show a lot. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you. Thanks again, Charlie. And that does it for us this week. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke, and we will see you next time.